Fourth District Court of Appeals in Illinois finding Governor J.B. Pritzker's appeal of the Sangamon County Circuit Court Judge temporary restraining order against mask mandates in schools moot. That means that it's going to possibly go on to the next step with the Illinois Supreme Court being asked to take this up. We have yet to hear from the governor as to his reaction of the 4th District dismissing his appeal. But a little bit later on today, we will be hearing from attorney Thomas DeVore here on WMAY. I'm Greg Bishop, now 6:23. Again, reminder, if you're waking up this morning wondering what the roads are like, the highway is an ice rink. So just be careful out there. You're already seeing some video and stories and some pretty frightening photos of massive pileups in some parts of the state. So just be careful out there on the roads. But of course, you can chime in here live and local at 217-629-7970. Again, 217-629-7970. I want to, of course, run through some of what the 4th Appellate Court did late last night, overnight. So yesterday, there was indication that the appellate court could issue a ruling on the governor's appeal. And the appeal was thought that it could drop sometime after 5, maybe sometime after hours. It didn't actually get dropped until overnight. So I was refreshing the page all day, every 10 minutes, looking for that appeal. Then about 6, 7 o'clock rolls around, I'm in bed. I get up for that midnight bathroom break. And I refresh my phone, and boom, I see it. So we did what we could to digest the story at 1 o'clock this morning. And after I got it posted, laid back down for just about an hour and a half more before getting up and braving the conditions to get here live on the air. But let's go through some of what the appeals court had to say here. So the appeals court dismisses Governor J.B. Pritzker's mask order appeal as moot. So what you have here is that temporary restraining order that blocked the governor's COVID-19 mask and exclusion policies in schools. It remains in place because the 4th District Court of Appeals dismissed the governor's appeal as moot. So they said because of the emergency rules were voided by the TRO, the temporary restraining order, they're no longer in effect. The controversy regarding the application of those rules no longer exists. That means, they say, the matter is moot. Now, there's a 3-judge panel for the appellate court. So this is kind of how appeals courts work in general terms. There's a panel of judges that take in the arguments from both sides, and then they discuss among themselves. They have, of course, a way of voting of sorts where, a majority opinion and a dissenting opinion. And there was a dissenting opinion in this, and we'll get to that here in a moment. But the 2 of the 3 judges, Justice John Turner and Thomas Harris, they agreed to dismiss the governor's appeal. Now, that dismissal, it means that there's no statewide mask mandate for schools, but local districts have the authority to implement their own policies, they said. Now, to give you some background on all of this, October of last year, that's when attorney Thomas DeVore filed the lawsuit against more than 145 school districts on behalf of more than 700 plus parents and their kids. Now, that's one case. There are multiple parent cases that attorney DeVore is working on. So we'll try to get an update from him later on after 7:30 this morning as to what's going to happen with those other parent cases. But ultimately, DeVore filed the case in October 21, saying that children's due process rights by law were being violated by a kind of broad executive order of the governor trying to mandate quarantine policies without giving people due process. Now, we've heard, of course, the governor say that this isn't about due process. He says it's about making sure that kids are kept safe from COVID and that the community is kept safe from COVID. But you have a lot of school districts that have gone mask optional this entire time. So DeVore filed suit in October after the governor a few months prior issued that mask mandate. And then the case was heard over several days in Sangamon County Circuit Court in January. February 4th is when the Circuit Court issued their ruling, a temporary restraining order, saying that the governor's COVID-19 mask mandate was null and void. And actually, some of the quote here from Sangamon County Judge Raylene Grisho's order said that statutory rights have attempted to be bypassed through the issuance of executive orders and emergency rules. This type of evil, she wrote, is exactly what the law was intended to constrain. So again, after having that order issued February 4th, the governor appealed. And then later on this week, on Tuesday, the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, they voted to block a rule that the governor just filed after the rule that was subject to the Sangamon County Court ruling expired on Sunday. So the rule that Sangamon County ruling impacted expired Sunday. The governor filed a new executive or a new emergency rule on Monday, and then Tuesday, the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules voted to block that emergency rule, essentially saying that there was no mandate. But the governor, he insisted that there was still a mandate in place. Earlier this week, when media asked him about it, he insisted, hey, that executive order is still in place. But the appellate courts didn't see it that way. They say that they note the language of the TRO in no way restrains school districts from acting independently from the executive orders or the IDPH in creating provisions addressing COVID-19. Thus, it does not appear that school districts are temporarily restrained from acting by the court's TRO. So again, the governor said that his executive orders are still in place. The court, they said that's not right. As such, the expiration of the rules renders defendants' arguments moot, the panel wrote. Accordingly, the appeal is dismissed as moot. Further, this decision renders the emergency motion to stay pending appeal also moot. So again, that was two of the three judges on this appeals court panel made that decision. But there was a third judge that had a dissenting opinion, and that was Justice Holder White. She said that as it stands, the majority's decision leaves open the question of whether the circuit court properly enjoined the enforcement of the executive order. So in a way, that kind of leaves the window open for the governor to take this to the next step, which is the Illinois Supreme Court. So we'll find out what exactly happens next and follow this for you here with WMAY in the morning news feed. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for being with us each and every morning. A lot more coming up on this issue. Attorney Thomas DeVore will join us after 7:30, but we'll also next review what happened on the House floor yesterday with 9 Republicans being voted to be ejected out of the chamber, but a lawsuit filed in that case too. So we'll get to that coming up here on the WMAY Morning News.